You know those people who watch horror movies and are always super cocky and say, I would have survived that? Yeah, that's about to end today because I've spent years of my life analyzing horror films, and today I'm breaking down 10 new monsters that would absolutely destroy you, no matter how clever you think you are. And the monster at the end of this list, it's not what you'd be expecting. It's not the biggest or the scariest looking, but it has a 100% kill rate. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why you were completely screwed if you run into this one. Look, I already know what you're thinking. Not me, I'm built different. Save it, buddy. If you honestly believe that you would survive these monsters, hit like and subscribe, then tell me which one you'd supposedly outsmart in the comments below. Let's start with something that seems innocent. A toy monkey with a drum. Cute, right? Well, the cursed toy monkey from Osgood Perkins the Monkey is basically what happens when the universe decides that Final Destination was too predictable and needed a mascot with a really twisted sense of humor. This isn't your standard evil doll comes to life and stabs you situation. No, this monkey has style. It causes elaborate Ruby Goldberg-esque death sequences that make dying seem like you're the punchline to a cosmic joke. Imagine living your life knowing that at any moment, a series of seemingly random coincidences could turn your morning coffee routine into your final destination. That toaster you've been meaning to replace, that slightly wobbly ceiling fan, that ominously balanced bookshelf, they're all just waiting for the monkey's signal to become murder weapons. Just destroyed the monkey! I hear you typing in the comment sections. Yeah, good luck with that, Einstein. The characters literally dismantled it, threw it down a well, moved to another state, and guess what showed up in their attic? Our drum banging friend with the murder playlist. This thing has better tracking abilities than your ex after 3 tequila shots and access to your location history. What makes the monkey truly terrifying isn't just its inability to be destroyed. It's the psychological torture of knowing it's coming back. Imagine living every day wondering if today's the day the monkey decides to turn your shower into an electric chair or your car into a coffin. You'd never be able to relax. And trust me, I know, because I have crippling anxiety. Imagine adding a monkey into that. It would be bananas. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. Please forgive me. Every random noise would make you jump. Is it the sound of cymbals or just my keys jingling? Your paranoia would skyrocket faster than crypto prices in 2021. And let's talk about those deaths. They're not quick or merciful. The monkey orchestrates elaborate scenarios where everyday objects become instruments of doom. A radio near a swimming pool, electrocution waiting to happen. A shotgun on a high shelf, it's coming down at the worst possible moment. The monkey doesn't just kill you, it turns your death into a dark comedy sketch where you're the unwilling star. Even if you somehow manage to avoid triggering the monkey's curse, you'd still have to live with the knowledge that anyone around you could become collateral damage. Your friends, your family, that barista who finally learned to spell your name right, all potential victims because you couldn't resist picking up a vintage toy at a garage sale. Way to go, buddy. But the most disturbing part, the monkey doesn't give a fuck. It has no vendetta, no goal, no motivation you can understand or reason with. It's just pure chaos in a cute but creepy package. It's really a reminder that sometimes the universe just wants to watch you slip on a banana peel and into an open manhole. Stephen King himself called this adaptation batshit insane, which is basically the literally equivalent of a 5-star Yelp review for Nightmares. Speaking of being hunted by unstoppable forces, let's talk about today's video's partner, Incogni. Well, the monkey tracks you through supernatural means so you can never really escape. Data brokers track you through very real, very creepy digital footprints. These companies collect everything from your shopping habits to your medical history. And unlike the monkey, this isn't fiction. This could be happening to you right now. Incogni is essentially your digital bodyguard. They automatically contact data brokers and legally force them to delete your information. No complicated rituals, no throwing anything down wells. Just sign up and they will handle everything. From the paperwork to the follow-ups to making sure your data stays gone, they will have your back. And their process is actually simpler than any horror movie survival rule. Simply create an account and let Incogni track down your data and watch it vanish from the internet. And yes, it actually works. Plus, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So click the link in the description and use the code Chupacabro to get 60% off your annual plan. Because while you might not be able to escape the monkey, you can at least escape from having your information sold to malicious people online. Thank you so much to Incogni for partnering with us on this video. Now, back to the video. But if you think an unstoppable cursed monkey is bad, wait until you see what happens when modern technology meets an ancient evil, and your weekly Zoom call with your therapist becomes a portal to hell. Because speaking of technology ruining your life, let's talk about Host, the horror movie that turned your pandemic Zoom calls into actual nightmares. Remember when the worst thing about video chatting was your boss turning herself into a fucking potato and not knowing how to turn it off? Well, host took one look at our collective COVID communication struggles and said, what if we added a fucking demon? The premise is deceptively simple. A group of friends decide to spice up their lockdown boredom with a virtual seance, because apparently baking sourdough and learning TikTok dances wasn't enough of a pandemic activity. Pro tip, if you're already isolated and trapped in your home during a global crisis, maybe don't invite a supernatural entity to the party. It's like being stranded on a desert island and deciding to poke the only shark in the area. What makes Host truly terrifying is that it exploits our newfound dependency on technology for human connection. The same Zoom window that connected you to your grandma's birthday party becomes a portal for demonic forces. And unlike your coworker who can't figure out how to mute, this entity has absolutely mastered the platform. It can manipulate video feeds, create distortions, drop connections at the worst possible moment, and basically turn all of the minor annoyances of video conferencing into weapons of psychological warfare. Just end the call, stupid, I hear you saying while feeling very clever about yourself. Yeah, that's the problem. This entity doesn't care about your leave meeting button. Once it's crossed over, it's in your house, and unless you're planning to abandon your home in the middle of a pandemic, you're basically trapped with it. The technology was just the doorway. Now the demon is your new roommate, and it's definitely not paying rent. The isolation aspect makes it even worse. At least in traditional horror movies, you can run to a neighbor or call for help. In Host, everyone's locked down. The police aren't coming. Your friends can't save you. They're dealing with their own demonic home invasion. You're completely on your own, watching your friends get picked off one by one through a 13-inch MacBook screen while waiting for your turn. It's basically the world's worst Zoom happy hour. Honestly, those are pretty bad on themselves though. Who the fuck thought of that? And don't you be thinking that you're safe behind your screen, mister. I'm just watching a YouTube video. This entity jumps through technology. For all you know, it's currently crawling through your Wi-Fi router, sliding down your Ethernet cable, and preparing to manifest right behind you while you're nodding along to this video. Maybe you should check over your shoulder. No, I'm seeing there's something right behind you. Check! Just kidding. Like and subscribe though. That'd be funny. That's the thing about Host though. It makes you question whether your technology is a window to the world or a window for something else to crawl through. Next time your Zoom call freezes, maybe it's just bad internet, or maybe something is interfering with the signal. Something that's already in your home. If you think having your technology invaded is unnerving though, our next monster does something far worse. It doesn't just enter your home, it replaces the people you love most with something wearing their face. Now, if you think tech-based demons are bad, welcome to every parent's worst nightmare. What if your kid isn't actually your kid anymore? Well, the hole in the ground takes that 3 a.m. anxiety you get when your child says something weirdly crazy and cranks it up to 11. Mom, have you considered how insignificant we are in the vast cosmic void? That's concerning enough coming from your 8-year-old. Imagine if they started crawling on all fours across the ceiling. Set in rural Ireland, because apparently isolated cottages near creepy forests weren't terrifying enough already, this film follows Sarah, who moves to the countryside with her son Chris, only to discover a massive sinkhole in the nearby woods. Pro tip, if you find a giant unexplained hole in the ground that seems like it's breathing, maybe don't build a swing set nearby and call it a day. The real horror kicks in when Sarah starts noticing subtle changes in her son. He's eating differently, his mannerisms are off, and he's doing that creepy thing where he stares unblinkingly at her while she sleeps. You know, normal kid stuff. If your kid was actually a changeling from Irish folklore sent to replace your child and slowly drive you insane, that is. But I would know if my child was replaced. No, Karen, you can't actually, because you can't even tell that your own child is depressed or going through an anxiety attack. You just tell him to suck it up like a man. Any parent that's saying stuff like that, by the way, they need to go to therapy. I don't know who thought telling a 12-year-old to be a man was a good idea about being anxious or depressed. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's what makes these creatures so truly terrifying. They're perfect mimics. They have the same face, same voice, and same memories. They can pass DNA tests, fool teachers, neighbors, even other family members. The only person who notices is the mother. And surprise, no one believes the stressed single mom when she claims her kid has been body snatched by fairy folk. Go figure. The psychological warfare is already brutal enough, but these creatures don't just want to replace humans. They want to break them first. They plant seeds of doubt that make you question your own sanity. Did my child always smile like that? Did he always eat his veggies without complaining? Wait, my kid willingly took a bath without screaming like I'm waterboarding him. Something's definitely wrong here. And let's talk about that rural isolation. In most horror movies, you can at least run to a neighbor or call the police. Here, Sarah's nearest neighbor is an old woman who everyone already thinks is crazy, because guess what? Big plot twist, she also claimed her son was replaced. When the local conspiracy theorist turns out to be right, you know you're truly screwed. It's like finding out the guy in the tinfoil hat was correct about the lizard people all along. I believe him, by the way. But the worst part, when these changelings are finally confronted, they drop the act completely. That thing wearing your child's face suddenly moves wrong, speaks wrong, and looks at you like you're nothing more than an interesting bug it's considering eating, all while wearing the face of the person you love most in the world. That psychological damage alone would destroy you faster than whatever physical harm it has planned. Oh, this is honestly such a terrifying concept when you think about it. I think about, like, if I'm in a relationship and I'm dating a girl, I'm usually good at picking up on people's emotions if they're feeling sad or whatnot. But what if, like, I pick on them being sad, but they're actually not my girlfriend and they're trying to kill me? That's a nightmare. And don't think you can just climb down the sinkhole to rescue your real child. Sinkholes aren't like the wardrobe to Narnia. They're unstable death traps that could collapse at any moment. Plus, who knows what's waiting for you down there besides nightmare fuel and therapy bills that you definitely can't afford. If changelings replacing your loved ones gives you the creeps, wait until you see what happens when your entire house decides it's done with doors, windows, and the basic laws of physics. So yeah, if you thought your house was creepy after watching too many horror films, Skinamarink is about to make your childhood fear of the dark look like a day at Disney. This experimental nightmare takes place entirely inside a house where two children wake up to find that all the doors and windows have mysteriously vanished. And no, calling a contractor isn't an option when reality itself is getting renovated by something that definitely doesn't have a license. Remember those nights as a kid when you were convinced something was watching you from the dark corner of your room? Turns out you were right all along, and you should be scared. Skinamarink taps into that primal childhood terror with a deliberately disorienting visual style that feels like something found your actual nightmares on a VHS tape from 1991. The grainy footage, strange angles, and barely visible scenes force you to squint into the darkness, exactly where you don't want to be looking. What makes this entity truly horrifying is how it toys with its victims. It doesn't just trap the children, it starts making requests, and not reasonable requests like clean your room or eat your vegetables. No, we're talking go get a knife from the kitchen and stab your eye out levels of requests. I don't care how good you think your negotiation skills are. You try reasoning with something that thinks self-mutilation is a fun party game, let me know how that ends. Just break through the wall, says the armchair survivor who's never encountered an entity that can literally erase architecture. That's the genius of Skinamarink. It strips away every possible escape route. No doors, can't run. No windows, can't climb out. Phone, gone. Parents, vanished. Well, my dad wasn't there anyways, but you know what. But anyways, you're trapped in a house that's gradually becoming less like a house and more like an abstract nightmare painting that somehow gained sentience in a mean streak. The entity isn't just physically trapping the children, it's psychologically torturing them. It knows exactly what scares them most. Those weird shadows on your bedroom ceiling as a kid, that strange noise from the bathroom at 3 a.m., the way your toys seem to move when you weren't looking, this thing weaponizes all of those fears simultaneously. It's like it attended a masterclass in childhood trauma and graduated with honors. And unlike most movie monsters that at least give you the courtesy of showing themselves so you know exactly what you're dealing with, this entity remains unseen. You can't fight what you can't see. You can't understand what defies explanation. All you can do is sit in the dark, watching toys float to the ceiling and listening to a disembodied voice asking you to do bad things while you wonder if the walls have always been this shape or if reality is melting around you. The most disturbing part though, the entity seems to enjoy this slow psychological breakdown. It's not interested in a quick kill. It wants to play. Remember how you tortured the ants with a magnifying glass as a kid? Congratulations, now you're the ant, and something much larger is watching you scurry around in a panic, thoroughly entertained by your futile attempts to make sense of a senseless situation. Skinamarink doesn't just scare you, it makes you feel like you've forgotten how to understand reality. Even the safe parts of the film leave you feeling disoriented and uneasy, like your brain is trying to process images it was never designed to comprehend. It's a cinematic equivalent of those dreams where your house has extra rooms that shouldn't exist, except you can't wake up from this one. If abstract horror gives you existential dread, just wait till you see what happens when you strip away all modern comforts and face a predator that's been perfecting the art of hunting humans since before we invented the wheel. All right, let's strip away all your modern comforts and drop you into Out of Darkness, where survival isn't about outwitting a monster. It's about not dying from exposure before the monster even finds you. Set in the Paleolithic era, which is like close to the dinosaurs or something, I don't know. This film follows a group of early humans searching for a new home while being hunted by something in the darkness. And if you think you'd survive because you watched that one Discovery Channel special on wilderness survival, I've got some bad news for you, Bear Grylls. First of all, you, yes, you specifically, would be dead within hours just from the environment alone. No smartphone, no Google Maps, no Grubhub, Just you wearing some inadequate animal skins trying to navigate the Scottish Highlands with nothing but the stars in your questionable sense of direction and fashion. You're really telling me that the same person who gets lost in IKEA thinks they're gonna navigate prehistoric wilderness? Please. The creature haunting the group makes things infinitely worse because it understands the terrain better than they do. Better than you would. It's been there longer. It knows every shadow, every hiding spot, every sound the wind makes through the trees. While you're stumbling around trying to remember if moss grows on the north side of trees or if that's just something you saw in a movie once, this thing is tracking you through scent, sound, and probably your overwhelming fear pheromones. Just fight back, stupid, says the person whose idea of combat is aggressively tweeting at celebrities. With what exactly though? Your primitive weapons consisting of pointy sticks and rocks tied to other sticks? Meanwhile, this creature is faster, stronger, and has been perfecting the art of killing for survival since before humans invented the concept of brunch. Your CrossFit membership isn't gonna help you here, buddy. What makes Out of Darkness truly terrifying is how it plays with the unknown. For most of the film, you barely see the creature. You hear it, sense it, feel its presence, but it remains hidden in the darkness. I love when horror movies do this because your imagination fills in the blanks, creating something far more terrifying than anything the film could explicitly show. And trust me, your anxiety-riddled modern brain would absolutely crack under that type of psychological pressure. The group dynamics make everything worse too. These early humans are already dealing with language barriers, tribal differences, and the basic struggle for resources. Throw in a mysterious predator and watch how quickly that fragile social structure crumbles. People turn on each other, make irrational decisions, sacrifice others to save themselves. And you think you'd be a hero? The cool-headed leader? Nah, you'd be the one panicking and accidentally leading the creature right to the group while trying to find a prehistoric bathroom. The isolation is complete. No backup, no rescue, no 911. This is before we had empathy, okay? Just the vast, unforgiving wilderness and something watching from the shadows. Every noise at night could be the wind, an animal, or the thing coming to make you its next meal. Sleep becomes impossible. Paranoia becomes your constant best friend, and that's assuming you even survive the basic challenges of finding food and shelter. Because there is no Arby's out in the middle of fucking prehistoric Scotland. The twist in Out of Darkness that the creature is actually a Neanderthal adds another layer of horror. This isn't some mindless beast. It's an intelligent being with its own motivations and strategies. It can learn, adapt, and outsmart its prey. And while you're busy congratulating yourself on knowing that Neanderthals existed, good job, you passed 6th grade history, this one is circling around to attack you from behind. If prehistoric predators make you uneasy though, just wait until you encounter an evil so ancient and so insidious that it doesn't just kill you, it corrupts your very soul from the inside out. Evil is an infection. That's the premise of When Evil Lurks, and it makes COVID look like a common cold. This Argentinian horror film explores what happens when evil isn't just some vague concept, but a literal contagion spreading through a rural community. And if you think your pandemic prep skills would save you here, I'm sorry to inform you that hand sanitizer and toilet paper hoarding won't help against demonic possession. The film centers around two brothers who discover a rotten man, someone infected with evil who's about to give birth to a demon. Yes, give birth. This isn't your standard possession where some teenager speaks Latin backwards and does the spider walk down the stairs. This is body horror taken to its logical, disgusting conclusion. Evil literally gestates inside people until it bursts out in a way that would make the alien chestburster scene look like a baby gender reveal party. Just avoid infected people, duh, you say with all the confidence of someone who's never lived in a small town where everyone knows your business and social distancing means standing 3 feet away instead of 2. The insidious part of this evil is how it spreads, not just through physical contact, but through emotional connections in proximity. Care about someone infected? Congratulations, you're next on the demon's delivery route. The rural isolation in this film creates the perfect breeding ground for evil. Far from hospitals, police, or any meaningful authority, these communities have to deal with the infection themselves, using folk remedies and superstitions passed down through their generations. Their CDC guidelines consist of cryptic warnings from the local witch and rituals that may or may not work. It's like fighting a wildfire with a water pistol while reading instructions written in crayon. What makes this evil truly terrifying is its patience. It doesn't always announce itself with spinning heads and levitation. Sometimes it just waits, hiding inside a loved one, showing only subtle signs that something's wrong. By the time you realize your brother, mother, or child is infected, it's already too late. You've been exposed and the evil is already taking root inside you. It's It's the horror equivalent of realizing everyone at the dinner table has food poisoning except you haven't felt the symptoms yet. And let's talk about the rotting aspect. These infected individuals literally decay from the inside out, both physically and morally. The film doesn't shy away from showing the gross physical transformation, but the moral corruption is even more disturbing. Watching a loved one's personality warp and twist, seeing kindness replaced with cruelty, compassion with sadism, that psychological horror would break you faster than any jump scare would. The rules of this evil are also maddeningly inconsistent. Think you've figured out how it spreads? Great, here's an exception. Think you know how to kill it? Surprise, that only made it more pissed off. The traditional methods of fighting evil, crucifixes, holy water, prayer, they're all about as effective as trying to pay off your student loans with pocket change. The entity adapts, learns, and finds new ways to spread its corruption, just like every fucking government it seems. Even if you somehow manage to avoid infection, you still have to live with the knowledge that anyone around you could be harboring this evil. That cashier who gave you too much change? Infected. The neighbor who suddenly started being nice to you? Definitely infected. Your cat staring at you while you sleep? Probably just a regular cat. But in this scenario, who knows? The paranoia alone would drive you to isolation, which ironically might be your only chance at survival. If ancient evil that infects entire communities gives you the heebie-jeebies, wait until you can't even trust your own perception of reality because the monster might be living in your head. So speaking of monsters you can't escape, They Look Like People takes horror to the most personal level, inside your own mind. This psychological thriller follows Wyatt, a man convinced that people around him are being replaced by evil creatures disguised as humans. But unlike your standard body snatcher scenario, this film keeps you guessing. Is this a real invasion or is Wyatt's mind fracturing? And let me tell you, if you think you would survive this, your self-confidence is more delusional than Wyatt's paranoia. The terror of They Look Like People isn't some CGI monster jumping out of the closet. It's the complete dissolution of trust in everything and everyone around you. Imagine waking up tomorrow and being absolutely certain that your roommate, partner, or best friend has been replaced by something inhuman wearing their skin. And you're not just guessing, you know. Their smile seems wrong. Their voice has a subtle distortion. They blink too much or not enough, and only you can see it. I would just be rational and logical, says the same person who gets into heated arguments about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Good luck maintaining your rational mind when you start receiving mysterious phone calls warning you about an impending invasion, complete with instructions on how to prepare for war against these creatures. The calls come at night, when you're alone, when your defenses are down and your anxiety is at its peak. So how long will it be before you start believing? What makes Wyatt's situation truly inescapable is how his paranoia creates a perfect trap. If he trusts people, he's vulnerable to the creatures. If he distrusts everyone, he isolates himself, becoming more influenced by his delusions. Every social interaction becomes a minefield. A casual comment could be innocent or could be a creature testing him. A friendly gesture might be genuine or might be rage bait. There's no winning move when the game board only exists in your mind. The film brilliantly puts you in Wyatt's perspective, making you question reality alongside him. Is that person's face really distorting for a split second, or is it a trick of the light? Was that inhuman growl real or just the building's plumbing? By the time Wyatt starts stockpiling weapons in his friend Christian's basement, you're not sure if he's preparing for an apocalypse or becoming the monster himself. The most disturbing aspect is how Wyatt's delusions evolve from vague suspicions to elaborate conspiracy theories complete with rules, signs, and imminent deadlines. He doesn't just think people are being replaced. He develops an entire mythology around when it happens, how to identify them, and what these creatures plan to do. His mind builds an internally consistent reality that's impossible to argue with because every counterpoint just becomes further evidence of the conspiracy. And here's where you, yes you specifically, would fail spectacularly. Wyatt's delusions target his closest relationship. When paranoia convinces you that your best friend is one of them, all of your survival instincts turn against the person you care about most. Imagine looking at someone you love and seeing a monster underneath their skin, someone you need to either save or stop. The emotional toll alone would crush you, let alone the practical horror of not knowing if you're saving the world or becoming the murderer yourself. If the thought of your own mind turning against you keeps you up at night, wait until you see what happens when religious devotion transforms ordinary faith into something monstrous and unrecognizable. If you thought paranoid delusions were bad, Saint Maud introduces us to something equally terrifying: religious devotion gone horribly wrong. This film follows Maud, a hospice nurse who becomes obsessed with saving the soul of her terminally ill patient Amanda. But Maud's version of saving souls is less thoughts and prayers and more speaking in tongues while doing bad things. If you think you're getting into heaven because you retweeted that inspirational quote once, Maud's devotion will make you feel spiritually inadequate. Before becoming Maud, our protagonist was Katie, a normal nurse who experienced a traumatic incident that led to her religious conversion. This isn't your grandma's find Jesus at church situation. This is a complete personality transplant where Katie disappears and Maud emerges like a butterfly if butterflies were into crazy visions and pushing pins through their shoes as a form of guilt. I would just avoid the crazy religious lady, you say, blissfully unaware that Maud is a healthcare professional with access to your home, your medications, and those sharp little scissors nurses always carry. What makes Maud truly terrifying is her unpredictability. One moment she's your compassionate caregiver, the next she's slapping you across the face because you mockingly proposed a toast to Saint Maud. Her mood swings aren't just from 0 to 60, they're from let me fluff your pillow to let me send you to meet God right now. There's an element of this movie with a touchy subject for YouTube, but basically Maud's not being very nice to herself, and by doing this it makes her especially dangerous because pain doesn't deter her, it validates her. This woman voluntarily puts pins in her shoes and walks on them, presses her hand on a burning hot stove, and kneels on dried peas like medieval torture. When someone sees their own suffering as divine communication, they're not going to stop when you try to fight back. Your pepper spray and self-defense moves mean nothing to someone who thinks physical pain is a fast track to spiritual enlightenment. The scariest part though, Maud genuinely believes she's doing God's work. She's not a cynical cult leader or a power-hungry fanatic. She sincerely experiences visions, feels God's presence, and believes she's been chosen for a divine mission. Try reasoning with someone who thinks they have direct orders from the Almighty. Hey, maybe don't do that. Doesn't really stack up against, but God told me to. And let's talk about those visions. The film brilliantly keeps you guessing about whether Maud is experiencing genuine divine communication or severe psychosis. She feels physical sensations of ecstasy, sees cockroaches transform into butterflies, and at one point fucking levitates off the ground during a prayer. Is she a saint or is she having a mental health crisis? The line between religious ecstasy and madness has never been thinner or more disturbing, and it really makes you think, is religion real or is it all a bunch of people that are crazy? I don't know, but I like that the movie's making me think about it. Maud's fixation on Amanda makes her particularly dangerous too. When she decides your soul needs saving, no amount of protest will deter her. She'll invade your personal space, manipulate your medication, isolate you from others, and ultimately, if all else fails, save you by more permanent means. Her caring becomes suffocating, then threatening, then deadly, all while she smiles serenely, absolutely certain she's doing the right thing. The film's finale takes religious horror to its ultimate conclusion, with Maud's delusions reaching their peak as she prepares for martyrdom. Without spoiling too much, let's just say her final act of salvation would make even the most devoted Sunday school teacher weak at the knees. When someone believes their sacrifice will lead to eternal glory, there's no safety measure or rationalization that will stop them. If crazy religious people give you the chills, just wait till you see what happens when art itself comes to life and turns the creative process into a nightmare you can't escape. From religious fanatics to artistic nightmares, stop motion takes the innocent childhood joy of animation and transforms it into something that will make you eye your kids' Play-Doh creations with newfound suspicion. This psychological horror follows a stop motion animator who descends into madness as her creations begin to take on a life of their own. And if you think your experience making a flipbook cartoon in middle school has prepared you for this, you're about to get a masterclass in artistic terror. We all grew up thinking animation is magical. Cute clay figures moving frame by frame, bringing imagination to life. Stop motion asks the terrifying question: what if that imagination doesn't want to stay confined to the screen? What if every frame you painstakingly create is actually tearing a hole between reality and something much darker? It's like discovering your IKEA furniture is actually a portal to another dimension, except instead of Swedish meatballs on the other side, there's existential horror. But I do love a good Swedish meatball though. Swedish meatballs, you want to sponsor me? Hit me up. I would just stop animating this, says the person who can't even stop scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m. despite having to be up in 4 hours. The insidious aspect of stop motion is how it turns the creative compulsion against the artist. Anyone watching who's ever felt the pull of creativity knows it's not something you can simply switch off. It nags, it obsesses, it demands to be expressed. It's part of the reason I created this YouTube channel. I wanted to yap, and I wanted people to listen to me yap, and now I got people listening to me yap. Yeah, try explaining that to my girlfriend's parents. Oh, what do you do for work? I'm a fucking yapper on YouTube. Now imagine that creative urge is literally alive and hungry. That's not writer's block. That's your art trying to consume you. The film brilliantly blurs the line between the animator's deteriorating mental state and actual supernatural events. Is she experiencing psychosis, or are her creations actually coming to life? The uncertainty creates a psychological trap where the protagonist can't even trust her own perception. Are those clay figures moving on their own, or is she moving them herself in like this weird dissociative state? When you can't trust your own hands, there is no escape. What makes stop motion particularly unsettling is how it transforms the painstakingly frame-by-frame process of animation into a form of torture. Each movement requires dozens of subtle adjustments, each requiring absolute focus and precision. Now imagine doing that while believing each frame is bringing something monstrously closer to reality. It's like building your own personal hell, one microscopic movement at a time, unable to stop despite knowing exactly what you're creating. The claustrophobia of the animator's workspace becomes a perfect setting for horror. Dark rooms, strange equipment, distorted figures frozen in unnatural poses. It's already creepy before anything supernatural even happens. And then add in sleep deprivation because animation takes forever, isolation because who has time for friends when you're moving clay 1/24th of an inch at a time, and the psychological pressure of deadlines, and you've got the perfect storm for a mental breakdown or a portal to another dimension. Or both. Honestly, that might be how we reach other dimensions. By being so goddamn stressed, we rip the very fabric of space and time. But let's talk about those animations. Cute on the surface, but disturbingly unnatural when you really look at them. The uncanny valley is real, people. There's something inherently unsettling about things that look almost human, but not quite. Now imagine those not quite human figures start bleeding into your reality, moving when they shouldn't, watching you when your back is turned. That claymation Christmas special doesn't seem so innocent anymore, does it? But the true horror of stop motion is the realization that creativity, something we value and celebrate in society, can become a trap from which there's no escape. The more the protagonist creates, the more she's consumed by her creation. She gets caught in this loop that's just as inescapable as the frame-by-frame process itself. It's like a quicksand. The more you struggle to express yourself, the deeper you sink into the madness. So if artistic creation turned against its creator gives you the chills, wait until you see what happens when nature itself rebels against the most fundamental relationship of all. That's between mother and child. Now we arrive at Hatching, one of my favorite movies that came out last year, and it honestly is the most terrifying monster concept I've seen in a long time. This Finnish horror film takes the miracle of birth and transforms it into something that would make a labor and delivery doctor change careers. If you thought puberty was rough, wait until you see what happens when a young gymnast named Tinja finds a mysterious egg in the forest, brings it home, and nurtures it until it, hatches. Spoiler alert, it's not a cute baby chick that pops out, unless baby chicks in Finland come with nightmare faces and they want to kill their own mother. The film centers around Tinja, a young girl living with her picture-perfect but emotionally suffocating family. Her mother is a lifestyle blogger who cares more about her online image than her actual children. Think like Instagram parenting pages, but with Finnish minimalist aesthetics. So when Tinja finds this strange egg and it starts growing to the size of a beanbag chair, she keeps it secret because nothing says healthy coping mechanism like incubating a mysterious forced egg in your bedroom. I would just get rid of the weird egg, yeah, says Captain Obvious, who's apparently never found like a bird egg on the ground before. When you find that, if you're a normal human being, you want to take care of that egg because the mom is not taking care of it anymore. Most humans are good and they want to see nature survive, but that's what makes Hatching truly terrifying. It weaponizes our most fundamental instincts. Tinja doesn't just keep the egg, she bonds with it, cares for it, sacrifices for it. The maternal instinct is one of our strongest drives, and this film turns it into a horror show. It's honestly a really weird concept, but it's really terrifying and really well done, so just stick with me here. When the creature finally hatches, it is fucking ugly. It's this weird bird-like monstrosity that quickly evolves into something even more disturbing, a doppelganger of Tinja herself. This isn't your standard evil twin situation. This is body horror that makes the fly look like a minor case of acne. The creature molts, bleeds, cracks, and transforms in ways that will have you reconsidering whether reproduction of any kind is worth the risk if this can happen. What makes this monster truly unescapable is the psychological bond it forms with Tinja. The creature doesn't just imitate her appearance, it manifests her repressed emotions, acting out of rage, rage, jealousy, and resentment that perfect little Tinja isn't allowed to express to her family. How do you fight something that is literally born from your own emotional baggage? It's like trying to outrun your own shadow or ghosting your own personality disorders. I've got 6 of them. They're stuck in my head. The body horror in Hatching isn't just gross out shock value either. It's this visceral exploration of how the expectations placed on young girls can literally create monsters. The creature needs to consume raw eggs to survive. It's this weird like analogy to like body image issues, right? It molts and tears its skin, which parallels like the physical transformation of puberty, and then it lashes out violently, expressing the rage Tinja suppresses to maintain her perfect daughter image. Your teenage rebellion probably didn't involve murder, but the metaphor still lands. Let's talk about that mother-daughter relationship, the most disturbing aspect of the film. Tinja's mother proudly proclaims, "We don't have secrets in this family," while hiding her own f***ing affair. She demands physical perfection while emotionally neglecting her daughter. When the doppelganger begins to replace Tinja in certain situations, the mother actually prefers the monster's performance. Ouch, nothing says you've failed as a parent quite like bonding with the forest creature that's planning to replace your own child. The true horror of Hatching isn't the realization that the monster isn't something external that you can run from or fight. It's something created from within you, nurtured by your own hands, and connected to you on a very primal level. The reason you can't beat this thing is because it's the ultimate betrayal of the body and the self, a corruption of yourself. Because how do you escape something that is in many ways you? It is all of your bad in this bird monster fucking thing from Arby's backroom freezer. And that's why Hatching tops our list of horror movie monsters you have zero chance of surviving, because the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones that chase you through the woods, possess your technology. They're the ones that grow inside you, born from your own repressed emotions, nurturing instincts, and biological urges. If you enjoy these types of videos of me explaining why you can't survive any horror movies, hit the like and subscribe button for more videos that are going to ruin your sleep schedule. And if you really think you can survive any of these movies that I talked about today, let me know down in the comments exactly how you would do it. And if you are clever, I might tell you could, but most likely you're not going to be able to. So sleep tight, viewers, or don't. I'm not responsible for what happens when you close your eyes after watching this. But if you're not ready to go to bed yet, click the video on screen now to see more horror movies you have zero chance surviving.